Welcome back to Caf N Canon. This is Novakistan. Today I'm joined by my lovely wife, Lebaum.
Hi.
I just want to pat myself on the back with these waveforms that are on screen. It took like very minimal-ish effort, but I figure that's better than nothing. We don't really have a good camera recording setup yet, so for the first handful of these, they may look like this. So, welcome to the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, if you can believe that. That's wild. This video is going up on the 19th, which would be the exact 20th anniversary, which is insane to me. I'll be 32 this year. I was 11 or 12 years old when this came out. So that's like more than 2/3 of my life ago. You're only a couple years younger than me, so you're like what, 9 or 10 when this came out?
Probably. I don't know.
So that this whole episode is just dedicated to Revenge of the Sith, just gabbing about it, gushing about it. When I was coming up with questions, I had a couple, like one or two least favorite parts or whatever, and I figured maybe we'll just cut that out and just sing its praises instead of being shitty about it. To start off, we went to see this in the theater, I guess a month ago now, because it was in April, but
Yeah.
we took our son to see it, and like leading up to it, he was super excited, and then the Battle of Coruscant started at the very beginning of the film, and I think what they got on the invisible hand, and he's like, "Can we go home?"
Yeah, he kept like looking at me and being like, "Can we get out of
Oh
here?"
man, the whole movie.
I was like, "Dude, stop. You're embarrassing me."
Yeah, and it's wild. So yeah, but I mean, it was a lot of fun to see it in theater. I mean, obviously, I was super excited to see it. Revenge of the Sith is your favorite prequel, yes?
Yeah, I would have to say yes. Yeah.
Okay. I
Out of those three, yeah.
I I don't know that my answer has changed. I think it's still the Phantom Menace for me, which is a hot take probably, but it was I not that I didn't appreciate it before, but I definitely appreciated it much more than previous seeing it in theaters again. Um so let's just dive into it. This was not your first time seeing the movie. um Unfortunately or fortunately. Like I said, I saw it when it came out. I don't know if I saw it May 19th, 2005 or May 18th at midnight, whatever, because my mom took me to the midnight showing at the My City, My State Theater, the downtown, and there was this whole trivia thing, and I won the trivia, and it felt like super special. And I remember going home that night and being like, wow, Star Wars is over. Little did I know that like 8 years later, 8 years later, not so. Do you remember when you first saw the movie?
No.
Oh,
I really don't. I probably saw I don't know. I feel like I might have seen Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace a bit more, like with at my dad's, but I don't know. I don't really like. I can't pinpoint Revenge of the Sith until you.
whoops.
So
Well, certainly we watched all six before Force Awakens, right?
yeah,
'Cause
definitely.
I don't remember watching the prequels, but I remember we played like a board game while we were watching Empire Strikes Back, and then we finished Return of the Jedi and drove to the theater for Force Awakens, right? I think
Yes.
I think that's that
I feel like yeah, the couple days leading up, we just like binged all of them.
right. Feelings on Revenge of the Sith. Obviously, you said this is your favorite one, but I guess what makes it your favorite one?
Well, I wasn't done talking about my theater experience.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Cause like I've obviously seen it at home with you and maybe when I was a kid, but with any theater viewing of like a film you've seen a million times, right? Like we've gone to like Jurassic Park and Alien and all that. Going to the theater forces you to pay attention
Oh yeah.
and you're seeing things you maybe hadn't seen before or things you forgot about. So there was a like is that something you want to get into?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it was. I think it was something I meant to write down, but I didn't. So yeah, things that we noticed or whatever for the first time, or maybe not even for the first time, but just noticed more. Why don't you start?
I don't know if this is like derailing the flow you had, but I remember because we obviously talked about sorry for the long pause. We obviously talked about all this when we got home from the movie and a couple days after and all that. But like I went into this movie being like, oh, I'm gonna be bawling at the end because of course.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, and there's other parts that got like tear jerked me more this time, like parts I didn't expect,
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't remember what part I told you. Definitely the younglings thing that messed me up. I
Yeah,
was like, oh,
I think
that was
that
icky.
that hits different now that we're parents and
Yeah, I
other
am not
world
like that.
events that have happened. Related, it doesn't take place in the movie Revenge of the Sith, but the Obi-Wan Kenobi show starts pretty rough with events that start or that are in Revenge of the Sith, and you were not
Yeah,
good during during the
I
opening of
must have
that
blacked
show.
that out. Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
no, you were not well. And it's a rough start for anyone who hasn't seen Obi-Wan Kenobi. First of all, watch it. Second of all, it starts with the Operation Nightfall, which is Darth Vader in the 501st attack on the temple. And they don't shy away from Jedi getting just gunned down. And what there was like, not to get on a bummer subject, I guess, with Jedi not being a bummer subject, but there had just been like two pretty massive school shootings in our real reality, like I don't know, a week before. So it was just like an
Oh,
unfortunate,
when Kenobi
yeah, when
came
it
out.
came out. So it was just like a
Yeah,
weird timing thing. It was like
yeah. Now
fresh
that
in
you
our
say that,
mind.
yeah, yeah. Now that you say that, I think that's why I was so like extra messed up.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh.
The younglings part for sure. Like I don't know if I teared up, but I remember sitting there like looking at it, just going like, "Geez," just like it
Yeah,
actually
I was
like
like,
hits for the
man, they
first time. Like
really.
God, like, that's
Yeah, I was
unfortunate.
like, well, I feel like the last few times I've seen Revenge of the Sith, I've been doing other stuff, and I just pay attention to the parts I like.
Right.
So seeing that, I was like, oh, I don't want this in my face.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can not look at it.
Like, I don't want to acknowledge this.
Um, a part,
I
not that it necessarily has to be scenes that you didn't know you would cry at. But a scene that obviously I've seen this movie 100,000 times or whatever. But the scene where Anakin has just told Mace Windu that Palpatine is Sidious, and he's like, go to your room, basically up in the temple, the High Council chambers. And there's that like haunting music that plays between Anakin staring out the window and Padme staring out the window, like at each other, like through Coruscant space. Which
yeah.
I don't know if there's a spot to put this later, so I'll just side tangent it now. For me, is totally, without verbally saying it, canonizing Padme's Force sensitivity. In the Revenge of
Mm.
the Sith novel, I'm pretty sure Matthew Stover's novel, it is slightly hinted at that because of Luke and Leia's Force sensitivity, because they're in
Mm.
Padme, that she is like by proxy Force sensitive. So I think,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that makes
look at
sense.
the framing of that scene. Like
Yeah,
she stands
yeah.
up from sitting and just stares at the temple. And like you can see her kind of like working out some emotions, and Anakin is certainly feeling her, feeling him, I think, and because
Yeah.
he's conflicted and whatnot. But that part kind of choked me up a little bit because it's such a beautiful George Lucasian scene of just framing and just actors like emoting, and it's really good. Like people don't give the prequels enough credit for how they're shot. Like I know like there's an abundance of CGI, but man, the money's on the screen and it's very good most of the time. So other things that you may or may not have noticed before.
That's what I was trying to remember. I know it had something about the end when Luke and Leia are born. I don't remember
Mm.
exactly what I said. I know I had some sort of thoughts. Oh, okay. I think it was, yeah. So when like they hand Luke to Obi-Wan, I'm pretty sure that kind of got me. Like
Oh
this,
yeah.
the way Ewan's, or is it Ewan's? Ewan?
Ewan.
Ewan. The way I always say Ewan. I don't know.
I mean,
The
that's not
way
wrong.
his face, like he just emoted. I don't know. The way he just looked at like, oh my god, I'm holding a baby. I'm holding Anakin's child. Like,
Right.
what is happening?
Yeah, that
After
scene,
everything he just went through
that
with
whole
him,
scene
yeah.
too got
Like,
me for
oh,
sure. Along that same line, when Padme passes, we were talking about this in the car on the way home. The thing that gets me every time, and even like non movie theater parts, the scream that Luke does when she dies is
yeah,
so
yeah.
heartbreaking. It sucks. The only other thing that I can think of that I noticed for the first time, really, I guess, or not for the first time, but like it really hit me this time in the theater was the Battle of the Heroes music at the end of the film. Like it's Revenge of the Sith's Duel of the Fates, basically. It's a song that you hear a million times through other Star Wars media and other people's videos and whatever, but like actually sitting there and watching it in the theater, like really like the impact of the music finally just like set in, like, oh, okay, I get why this is like a really good song outside of just, oh, that's a really epic sounding song or whatever. Like it really encapsulates the emotion, the betrayal, the conflict that's going on between the two of them, I think. And I think much the same that when we saw Phantom Menace in the theater was that last year.
Yeah.
Duel of the Fates kind of the same thing. Like, oh, it's more than just like this deified piece of music that everyone can hum. Like it actually has impact. It's there for a reason. That's why Lucas and Williams are masters, and why no one will ever be just anywhere near them.
I guess to wrap up the theater, I just like it was fun. Like I went into it and like I was laughing out loud at like the silly like hello there, just like all the little things that, make the
Yeah,
prequels. And I was just having a good time, even though my kid did not want to be there.
he really didn't. And no, it's Star Wars is meant to be seen. I think every movie is meant to be seen in the theater, but Star Wars really like is best enjoyed on the big screen, big sound. I get it. They're like the perfect movies to put on when you're just like cleaning or you're just bored or whatever. But it almost makes me think like every time I put on Star Wars, maybe I should just be sitting there and watching it or something. Like it, for that reason. Like I remember, like we were all laughing and stuff. Like our theater was actually fairly fun. Like there were people that were like kind of silently quoting. Like during the Darth Plagueis scene, there was someone behind us like just softly verbatim like "You hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis" the whole time. Like through the entire speech.
Yeah, I just felt I could just feel myself being so expressive, and like I was like shaking my head at stuff and just I don't know. I was getting into it.
For as sad as the second and third act of Revenge of the Sith are, the whole movie is very fun, and I think that's something that's, I don't know if it's overlooked, but maybe we forget about it from time to time. Like it's not usually the prequel I put on.
Because it's heavy,
Yeah.
And then to add on to your thing about like, oh, I should pay attention. I mean, yeah, I think with any movie, it's like especially any of your comfort movies, you should make time to like, I should sit down and just watch this.
Right.
I guess we kind of touched on overall feelings on episode 3. I mean, overall feelings, it's good. It's sad.
It's good.
It's tragic. Okay, I don't know.
It is.
You talk about it.
It's all that. I mentioned it's not my favorite prequel, and that's not to say that I dislike it or by any stretch, but I don't know, maybe that'll change. I don't know. I feel like there's a part of me like I'm not a hipster by any stretch, but there is things in me, and there have been things throughout time that get too big, or I consider them to be too big or too popular, and I go, I don't know about that. Like I've not seen or read Game of Thrones yet for that very reason. It's just like too many people enjoy it, and I will also have to delete something in my brain to absorb that. So when you see stuff on like Reddit or YouTube or the platform formerly known as Twitter or Facebook or whatever about like, oh, Revenge of the Sith is so good, like it is, but that usually comes with because the other two are such shit, and that's not fair. And I really like the Phantom Menace. I like how underlyingly bleak Phantom Menace is, and it doesn't slap you in the face with it like Revenge of the Sith does, which is a reason that I like Revenge of the Sith. But that being said, it's not my favorite prequel. That also being said, that night it was when we saw it in the theater. Like I guess that's just how, like, that's the one you've seen the most recent. But man, for like a hot second, it's like, man, is Revenge of the Sith my favorite prequel? I'm like, damn. I love Revenge of the Sith. It has, there are things that, I don't know if the word is bother me, but there are things that I would change for sure, and we'll kind of get to that eventually in this conversation. But no, I think it's very good, and I think anyone that still poo-poos the prequels for any reason needs to just sit down and watch all the three of them together, because none of them work without the other ones. Phantom doesn't work without 2 and 3. Attack of the Clones doesn't work without 1 and 3, and 3 doesn't work without 1 and 2. So George has famously said, like, it was supposed to be one big giant story about the rise and fall of Darth Vader, and the story begins with them finding him on Tatooine, and the movie, this long, huge, long movie, would end with Vader throwing Sidious down the shaft, right? So in regards to that, I think that works very well, and that's a kind of a good segue into the next thing. How does it fit into the prequels? I think very well. I don't know that there was a better way to end it. I think another segue for later, that there are things that I would change again. There's a perfect gap between 2 and 3, which is the Clone Wars, and that's its own separate conversation. But you have the end of 2.
Which I've been dying to bring up.
Oh my god, yeah. And we'll get there. You have the end of Attack of the Clones, which is Yoda saying, begun the Clone Wars have, and you see all these future stormtroopers boarding these ships, and there's Palpatine and Bail Organa, and like they're literally framing like these two cats are about to be on the opposite ends of a thing, right? And the marriage of Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala. And then immediately the beginning of Revenge of the Sith cuts every corner, or doesn't cut any corners, I guess, in a way. There's no like starship, people landing, it's just bam, there's a space battle. It's the Clone Wars. Hello, there's a giant battle, there's clones, it's General Kenobi all of a sudden instead of, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It starts very perfectly, I think. I don't think there's another way to start that movie that's not that. So as it slots into the prequels, really good. How do you think?
It's interesting that you say that, because I guess I never considered that, the flow of the movies like that, because like I didn't really get into the prequels until I had known about the Clone Wars and all that, so I already kind of had a taste of that. I guess I never really looked that deep into like the flow of Attack of the Clone movie to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then having knowledge of like the Clone Wars and watching the show like that, of course I knew what the Clone Wars were,
Right. That's another.
But yeah, I like that you said how the space battle, you're like, no, this is the Clone Wars, they're in it. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, huh.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I probably should have jotted down, but it's perfect to talk about it now, is that, do you think Revenge of the Sith is better, or it's such a stupid question because the answer is yes. How to frame this question. Would you enjoy Revenge of the Sith without seeing the Clone Wars? I guess is the question.
And see, this is what I've been trying to get into, because it's like, one of the reasons I love Revenge of the Sith is because of Hayden and Ewan's end scene. Like, it was really powerful to me. And because really, I went through the prequels and I was like, why do I care about Anakin? Why?
Yeah.
Like, he turned into Darth Vader. Why should I care about him? Like, and even in the movies, I was like, I don't know, you're not convincing me to like you. And, and even then, they acted it so well that I was like, I believe that you two had a friendship, a brothership. But then, yeah, watching the Clone Wars show, that gave me all the reasons to be like, wow, Anakin's just ridiculous guy. I love this. Like,
right.
And you gotta see them really play off each other. It just felt like it gives the movie so much more context, and it shows you that relationship.
Oh my god,
like,
yeah.
I feel like it needed that world building, character building.
Yeah, it's one of the points that I will give my mother credit for whenever we talk about the prequels. She's always like, well, I wanted to see those Clone Wars, but I'm not gonna sit down and watch a 7 season long show to get what I wanted. I wanted to see, they said Attack of the Clones. I'm thinking, oh, this is Obi-Wan talking about these Clone Wars and whatnot. So that is like one critique of the prequels that I do have, but I also understand that there's a giant story going on, and the Clone Wars are just a backdrop, right? They're not the point. They're just the reason that they happen.
They're not like, you don't need to see that. Yeah.
No, you just, because it's not you just need to see it's Anakin's story for
Yeah,
the
you need to
prequels.
know that it happens, and you need to know that these people have been going through it.
Right.
By the time we get to Revenge of the Sith, yeah.
That being said, like you said perfectly, the Clone Wars show gives the prequels and Revenge of the Sith in particular context, and I have always stood in the pro Hayden Christensen camp, but I need to stop saying that being said. That being said, Matt Lanter's Anakin Skywalker does lend a bit to, and it's like they could have had Hayden voice him. I guess Dave Filoni's Anakin Skywalker lends to, oh yeah, I like this guy, and I can definitely see why he's so pissed off with these people. And by the time that you get to Revenge of the Sith, going back to things that we noticed, why he is kind of dubious about everybody that he loves and whatnot. Like, I think the scenes where Palpatine is like, oh, I want you to be my personal representative on the Jedi Council, and Anakin's like, oh man, this guy's kind of inadvertently pitting me against my people. And then Obi-Wan, the next scene's like, hey, I want you to spy on the Chancellor. He's like, God damn it. And then the next scene is like, Padme, hey, can you talk to Palpatine? He's like, everyone I love is pitting me against all of the other people, and this sucks.
See, yeah, like when you really do look into it, you're like, yeah, dang, like Hayden, he did a good job with that.
Yeah,
you could feel the just frustration.
Bro was exasperated by the.
And yeah, when you really do think about it, that's like, yeah, 3 very important people in his life laying into him, not realizing or not thinking about how much this is affecting him, you know?
Hey, you don't even. I mean, obviously the Mace Windu Sidious thing at the middle of the film is necessary, but like by that point, it's like I can see why Homie decided to betray everybody. It was easier for him to cut everyone else out, right?
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, going back to Clone Wars, yeah, Dave's and George, because people I think like to forget that George had a heavy hand in the very first, most of the Clone Wars. In fact, I think I don't know if he was involved in like season 6 and 7, but those first 5, 100% George was there in the writing room and whatnot, and tootling young Dave Filoni. George's capability to go back and fill in the holes, I guess you could say, between 2 and 3, really lend to making it, as I was kind of saying earlier, the whole big story, the whole big picture. If you look at it from, now this is pod racing, to help me take this mask off, just 2 lines from Phantom and Jedi, that's a much broader canvas that we see, and not just Anakin, but like Obi-Wan and Padme as well. Obi-Wan and Padme definitely get their limelight in the Clone Wars, and all these other characters. Like there's so many arcs about, you know, like Mace Windu and Count Dooku and Yoda, and I think that's important to see how everyone's involvement in all of this kind of came together, because when you watch Clone Wars and you get to Revenge of the Sith and see, oh my god, this culmination of Mace doing all these things and being this great protector, and then really in the moment he should have been the most Jedi-like, he decided, nah, I'll just pitch it. And you can definitely see Anakin being like, you have been preaching to me for years about being a Jedi, and now you're doing the most un-Jedi-like thing.
Well, yeah, and it's like, to him, like that's just another betrayal to him.
Right.
So.
For it, like, I think one of the biggest qualms I've had with Revenge of the Sith is like, Anakin, like, you can totally see that this guy's playing you. Like, it's not like, it's not like you're like he's, oh, I'm so weak and blah blah blah, and he kills Windu, and like, obviously he's not enthralled by that, but at the same time, then you also consider like, oh no, he even tells Padme later, like, I can overthrow him, this is part of my plan. But at the same time, you have all this disillusionment with the Order, like, you know, I need you to spy on the Chancellor, Mace Windu not really being all Jedi like. I think he finally just got to a point where it's like, I don't even care. This just, everything about being a Jedi doesn't mean anything anymore, so we'll try this, and then this is how I'll really change the galaxy, is by overthrowing this guy.
Well, and it's just, I mean, it comes down to naivety and cockiness, and yeah, that's Anakin.
Yeah. Um,
That's our good old boy Anakin.
that's someone's good old boy Anakin.
Yeah, it's somebody.
So that's how it fits in the prequels in a really long-winded way. How do you feel Revenge of the Sith fits into the rest of the films? All nine.
Uh,
I know it's a
I
big question.
don't know. It's like that's like a very. I don't know. Give me. I guess you
I'll
take this one. I'll
it's
add on.
I don't know that I have a stone cold answer either, but I do have a from the gut answer. So it's kind of odd because they did them completely out of, well, not completely out of order. They did the middle and then the beginning and then the end, right? So it is kind of, they did the end at the end, I suppose, but trilogy wise. So you do have this odd setting of events where there are things that you can and can't do, right? So 4, 5, 6 establishes Luke from farm boy to Jedi Knight. That's a whole other video topic. And then you have, let's go back, young Obi-Wan Kenobi, find him and Qui-Gon, find Anakin and the Clone Wars, and then yada yada Darth Vader, and then you start A New Hope. And then you have Force Awakens, which is 30 years later, but you still have to adhere to things that we've seen. And that's the whole idea of canon, is that the things that you are making now must adhere to the things that have already come before. I don't know, because it's very, very quick side tangent. A criticism of the sequels is that they don't go back enough. Like they make references to things and whatnot. I was always waiting for like the big moment where, oh, we're gonna flash back to the prequels, or Rey finds something which someone else goes, oh yeah, during the Clone Wars, something like that. So I think it fits fine. I guess it was kind of incumbent upon the sequels to kind of come back to Revenge of the Sith in a way. As for the originals, I'm going to shift one of my next questions into this conversation. Revenge of the Sith does break something for me, and this is part of why it's not my favorite prequel. Something that I would change, and something that breaks the canon for me personally a little, is Padme's death at the end of the movie. Now, she could have passed anywhere between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, but there is that part in Return of the Jedi where Leia says, or Luke asks Leia, do you remember your mother, your real mother? And she says, yeah, she was very beautiful, kind but sad. She died when I was really young. That was out of order, but whatever. George's argument is that because they were force sensitive, that Leia remembers Padme from being 4 minutes old, or however old they got to be before Padme passed.
Well, in the womb too.
I guess. I don't know if you get the impression that your mother is kind but sad in the womb, but
With the Force, maybe.
for the sake of argument, it doesn't make me mad. It's just one of those things, like, it does break continuity a bit. Like, it doesn't really matter, because obviously by the time that Return of the Jedi rolls around in the timeline, Padme's gone one reason or another. I like to subscribe to the idea, like, I'm going to pause that because there's another question down the line, so don't let me forget a headcanon for Padme. But
Okay.
that's one thing that I feel like it almost misses the mark of slotting into the rest of the movies. The other thing would be, no one calls Obi-Wan Kenobi Ben Kenobi, because in A New Hope, Obi-Wan says, Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. What does he say? I haven't gone by Obi-Wan since before you were born, which would be Revenge of the Sith. So I had always thought that the beginning of the movie, the Jedi starfighters zip in, all the ILM magic happens, and then the dialogue starts, and Anakin goes, "Oh, Ben, we have something off the port bow or whatever," and Obi-Wan like, "That's my name, yes," and then they, continue on, or like someone has to call him Ben, right? Like, just to set that up.
Huh.
Now, if you look at the Obi-Wan Kenobi show and obviously Order 66, I think the insinuation is that he changed it to Ben because he's hiding. Homie also didn't change his last name, and how many Kenobis do we know? Like,
yeah.
like he was going by like OB Kenobi. Like Darth Vader wasn't looking at like Tatooine registration. Like, huh? I wonder if that's him. Nah, it must be
Yeah,
some
that
other
is,
Obi
that is
Kenobi.
kind of silly.
Otherwise, it slots fine. I think. I mean, obviously, it's George is George and knows his movies. Besides the Padme point, but I can also see why they did that because it is very dramatic for Padme to pass and be like the ultimate casualty of the prequels. Like the Jedi, like we all knew from the beginning of the Phantom Menace, like all of these people we're meeting are going to die soon because Obi-Wan Kenobi already told us that Darth Vader killed all of them. So
Yeah, I would say Padme's death is more of just a tool storytelling to just make Anakin's story more tragic.
right.
Because I mean, it really is. Because like, no, I'm being terrible to save her, and it's like, no,
That's not how it
no,
works.
you're not. You're actually doing the opposite.
You're giving Padme the ick. That's the thing, right?
Honest, yeah, that is the
That's
thing.
the
And
thing the
like,
kids
you
are saying.
are. She's literally like goes at him as like, all the stuff I'm hearing is not true, right? And he's like, no, it is. And she's like,
Oh.
ew,
Ew.
ew,
You
you're
killed
breaking my
babies?
heart.
My God. Yeah, beyond breaking my heart, you're breaking my attraction to you, dog. That's gross.
Yeah, honest. I would have heard that, and as soon as he said, "Yeah, I did," I'd be like, "Bye, peace." Getting on my ship, leaving. Don't contact me.
Pivoting hard, unless you had something to add.
Well, as to where it slots in, I mean, I think it's fine. It doesn't necessarily like. I feel like you were saying you were looking for something in the sequels to kind of tie it to the
Mm,
prequels, which I mean, we have Darth Vader, like the mention of him, but
right.
and I don't think it needs it. It doesn't
Yeah,
really need it.
and I was just thinking I don't want this to become like to be perceived as an anti-prequel or sorry, an anti-sequels thing because that's definitely not the case. But I think you're probably right at the end of the day is that the sequels needed to probably stand on their own, which I think they do very well. But I think there is a part of me that did want some like I said, something of a thing that someone directly
Just a callback,
references or some
yeah.
sort of callback. And there are little ones. Like my favorite one, it's not Revenge of the Sith, but in Rise of Skywalker, when Poe and Zori are on the rooftop, and Poe's like, "Oh, yeah, this resistance is basically over." The musical note, the musical score they use is ripped right out of Attack of the Clones when Anakin and Padme are hearing about Shmi being taken by Tusken Raiders. It's just like a nice motif callback. So I like that very much. I almost feel like that's probably enough. Like I remember sitting in the theater hearing that, being like, "Oh, that's very neat." The comparison of scenes and emotions and things. But yeah, they probably didn't need to do that, but oh well. It's just one of those like in a perfect world things. But pivoting off of that, I already mentioned things that I would change. Padme not dying would be the chief among them. This next point also goes into I'll use it as a segue after you, but oh no, I'll just use it as a segue. So Padme dying for me. What do you think? Something that you would change?
Something that I would change.
Yeah.
Uh,
It doesn't have to be a negative thing either. Just like, I like this, but I think this would be better, or I hate this. Here's how I would change it.
I don't know. Just a Revenge of the Sith. Bro, I don't know.
I have another one. While you think, I always thought that Vader should have been Vader A earlier and B in the suit earlier.
Hmm.
I think also that putting pieces of the suit on him as the movie goes, like building up, like, oh shit, that's the body suit that he's got underneath his Jedi robes. I can see that detail. And then eventually you put like what does I call a pauldron or whatever, the neck guard. Like, oh shit, that's Darth. That's a very iconic piece of Darth Vader armor. And then I know like the whole mythos was, oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi threw him in a lava pit or whatever, but alterations can be made. The story can be retold a little bit. Revenge of the Sith was what set it in stone anyway, because it's not like in episode 4, like, how did my father die? Oh, well, I kicked him into a lava pit, you see. Like, and we talk about this all the time of like, the way that you make a prequel exciting is telling the same story but in a different way to keep the audience like, oh, like it's still surprised, not just like, oh, yeah, okay, now let's check this off the list because we know this is an element that we already know, just haven't seen or whatever. I don't know, maybe even like he gets part of the rebreather or something, like the very bottom part of the mask at some juncture, and then he's injured too much by Obi-Wan at the end of the movie, and then he has to be encased in the full helmet or something like that. I think just to see. You feel like what?
Like timing wise, like that just wasn't going to be possible. You'd have to change the story a lot because
Oh,
you
yeah.
insinuating that like Obi-Wan and Anakin have to keep finding each other and
No. I think in this proposed alternate Revenge of the Sith, really quickly, like writer brain goes, you start the movie, Anakin is a bit more grizzled and already has been served a pretty serious injury. So he requires part of the suit. So that it's not just an abrupt transformation. It's like even like mentality and physically, like this has been a long time coming for him. Like as soon as Qui-Gon died on Naboo, it was already done. Like it was too late for him. And because I think that's what George. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not George Lucas, but I think that's sort of the message of the prequels was that Qui-Gon, the only hope Anakin had of not turning into Vader was Qui-Gon, and that's why it's called Duel of the Fates. There's this whole famous, now famous speech that Filoni gives about the whole fight. It's the fight for this boy, because if Qui-Gon gets him, then he'll be the best Jedi ever, probably. And the Sith will have no chance. But if Maul gets him, or if Obi-Wan ends up training him, he's susceptible, or they just outright have him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think in my Revenge of the Sith, again, he starts grizzled. He's got part of the suit on. And as the story goes on, he starts disassociating from the Jedi in such a physical way that he goes out and gets his own bits and pieces of garb. So that chest piece, like he adopts from his war armor, like he puts that on, and maybe his injuries are so grievous that he needs that like part of the helmet or just something that looks and does like the noise. So the noise is kind of through the movie, like, oh, that's how Darth Vader sounds. And then at some point towards the end of the movie, then you have their big duel on Mustafar, and then bam, he's in the suit. But I think wanting to see Vader in the suit and talking and walking around a little more, like I understand, like we get it, that's Darth Vader, we're gonna see him for another 3 movies, but just a little more something than just him bemoaning Padme's death and then staring out at the Death Star. It's such an empty ask because I don't even know what that means, but that's just like a feeling, like just wanting to see Vader more in the movie.
I guess I don't feel like I need that. And then also, like, to play devil's advocate, I wonder if Palpatine, like, obviously Palpatine would be like, oh, Anakin's looking a little rough. Like, would that make him, like, lose interest in that and be like,
yeah,
I don't even know if I... So...
Probably, yeah, because
I don't know.
canonically, like, when Vader gets in the suit, Palpatine's all like, God damn it, about like...
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
With your version, I'm like, I don't know, Palpatine might have been like, oh, well, this is a bust. Like, what do I do now?
True. So I would agree with you, and I would redact him being injured, but I would still have put Vader costume elements into Anakin's. I could still
see a little bit, like maybe like, oh, maybe he needed leg braces or like or started dressing a little different, you know?
Yeah, like not just like there's the whole Anakin's Jedi robes are black and brown and like mostly black by the last one, so like, oh, he's a goth boy. But like actually distancing himself physically from the Jedi, I think maybe it's more my ask to see like, oh, he's not like, if you took a line of Jedi together, he would stand out. Like, that guy don't look like a Jedi. Like, what's going on there? So no, you're 100% right on that. It's also, for me, like, it's either a little more Vader. It's not. I like what we got, right? It's not a deal breaker for me, but in a perfect world, it's either a little more Vader or no Vader at all. I think the other most interesting thing to do would have been to see Sidious go to the lava bank, to see Vader crusty and burned, and you don't see him again. You just like,
Yeah,
obviously
I
we
could agree
know,
with that.
obviously we know what happened. We don't need to see the whole him being worked on. It is what we got is sadly, tragically beautiful, because you have the split of cutting from Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia, and then cutting to Vader being born while Luke and Leia are being born. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think the other perfect thing would have been to have Luke and Leia be born. Padme doesn't die, and you just don't see Darth Vader again, because we know
because
he's gonna walk through the door in Episode 4. And also, it's another one of those prequel things. Like, is the guy at the beginning of 4 Luke and Leia's dad? Like, is that the Darth Vader, or just another guy that they named Darth Vader? And then you get to 5, I'm your father, and like, oh, okay, so it's kind of a keeps the audience on their toes things for doing a prequel thing. It's the same story, just telling it a little different.
Well, I was gonna go the more cliche route and be like, well, they could have just at the end had the breathing, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly thematically, and
we don't have to see him, but we're gonna hear that and be like, oh yeah,
right,
okay.
like a door closes or a door opens and Palpatine does a wicked laugh or something, and yeah, you hear like the first breath or whatever. Yeah. So
I still go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna be like, I really don't know if I would change anything. I don't know if I have seen it enough to really have a huge opinion on that.
Yeah, and that's fine.
So I don't know.
So to end this bit and to pivot, something I would change, and the next question is any headcanon for Revenge of the Sith. So this is twofold. Something I would change, they already kind of do it, but this would be like follow up in other media or something like that. Anakin does not kill those kids in that room. Yeah. I understand cutting down the other Jedi that were attacking him, because that you're just, like, if you're gonna attack another dude, he's gonna kill you. But I would change him not killing them, because it makes Anakin irredeemable to me.
Yeah.
Now, we already know that he already killed again, Obi-Wan tells Luke, yeah, he killed all of the Jedi, this Darth Vader guy. So he is already a massive prick. But when he turns on Palpatine, he's turning not just on the dude, but he's turning on the ideals, he's turning on the Sith, on the dark side, and he's stepping back into the boots of Anakin, right? Like, it's not a 100% reset card, get out of jail free card, but it is very much like all right, well done, thank you for finally fulfilling the prophecy. But him murdering children, like defenseless children, like, man, I don't know. That's bananas. So the headcanon,
like, slap on the wrist.
Yeah, like, and I'm pretty sure I can't recall off the top of my head what book it is, but I know at some juncture Luke learns about it, and it's like oh no. Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah.
So the headcanon would be Anakin turns Darth Vader, because he's Darth Vader at that point. Vader turns the lightsaber on, but there's that he's still Anakin enough that, and in his mind he's like, I'm about to be a father. This is a little sick even for the Sith.
Yeah, I would like say an extra layer of like, really?
Throw down your lightsabers and leave the temple and never come back. And they take their chances and go. And I think Vader has like a moment of like struggle. And that even that could tie right back into the sequels. Kylo Ren having the conviction to kill Leia, can't do it. That's his mom. I
feel like that would have been more powerful too, because it's still showing that, like, man, Anakin's really still trying to hang on.
Well, and it's literally the antithesis of what I was talking about. It's, yes, he's Darth Vader at this point. Yes, we know that he's going to do more atrocities, but that act is somewhat like, it's Anakin putting his foot in the door of like, I can come back, instead of like that closes the door for me, him doing that to the younglings. Like, that's too much.
Well, I always, like, I guess I get why Palpatine wanted that, but it's like, don't they also go in search for force sensitive kids anyway.
Yeah, that there's a whole thing in the comics about that for like future Inquisitorius
So
members and stuff.
certainly, if they were young enough, you could have just kept them.
The idea, and I'm sure someone
But
says this at some junctures, that even at that age they were far too indoctrinated, and like even if that's true,
yeah,
man, like
still,
they tortured all of the Inquisitors, I'm pretty sure, to break them and then to mold them into Darksiders and whatnot. So I don't know.
yeah,
It's something that is more impactful on me as a father now, obviously, but I've kind of always held that assertion that that act in the temple made him irredeemable. Now I don't. It's not like I watch Return of the Jedi and go, yeah, right. You watch it, you believe it, right? It's such a powerful moment of Vader turning on Sidious. But if you if you take some time and think back, like, that's bad.
well, and it's like Darth Vader's got a laundry list of bad things.
Yeah, you may have to whip another couple of dictators down a shaft to wipe clean the sins of the past on that. I had momentarily forgotten. I don't think I remembered the whole one, so that's going to infuriate me as I'm editing this and I remember it. I don't. It's basically been. Maybe it's more theoretical. It's been hinted at, and it's not been hinted at. The headcanon that Sidious killed Padme, or was draining through the Force, pulling Padme's spirit, her essence, or even culling her midichlorians, Plagueis style, to keep Vader alive, I think is the most vile and Sidious on par thing for Sidious to do. And I think that adds to the tragedy. I don't think it's ever been stated like beyond a reasonable doubt, but again, watching that the scene, the split of Padme dying, giving birth to the children, and Vader being born, like it's almost a follow-up scene to them looking at each other from across Coruscant, right? Like it's them suffering together, but in a very more metaphysical and physical way, of Vader having pieces of him torn apart and put back together, and Padme literally having her body torn apart in a way to, birth the children. And I think it totally makes sense for Sidious to make sure that Padme's out of the picture, and then by proxy make sure that Skywalker's children don't make it either. I don't think he could have known that he didn't succeed in that, but best case scenario for him is that he did succeed.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and it makes it more of like, oh, that's why she died. Like when you give it some more like Palpatine, Sidious, because otherwise it's like, okay, she's just dying because she's sad.
Yeah, and even the droids say medically
like,
she's perfectly healthy for reasons we can't explain. We're losing her.
Yeah. Which, yeah, like that would make sense if he's got some sort of draining powers, and honestly, yeah, Anakin was not doing so great, so he definitely needed some life juice.
And I mean, he literally says, Palpatine to Anakin, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. So I think that tracks, and it makes Return of the Jedi more powerful, because whether Vader knows or not, Sidious is about to kill the last link to Padme, not knowing that this is the guy that also killed Padme. So this guy is trying to kill everything that he loves, and then finally says no more, and then finally puts a temporary end to the the reign of Sidious. So I don't know if I'll ever remember that other Padme thing. I guess just headcanon, she didn't actually die, and she was living. That maybe that was it. I don't know if this is exactly it, but it just kind of came to me, I suppose. The headcanon that, I mean, it literally doesn't make sense to it would, maybe not headcanon, just fun, sad what if Padme being alive on Alderaan when the Death Star blew it up, the ultimate irony.
Yeah, I feel like you've told me that before. Yeah.
I mean, how tragic.
And I guess, and like what, she's just keeping an eye on Leia sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, again, because Leia already said like she died when I was yet little, but it would just be a sad what if.
I think that was also like part of your argument too, is that maybe she did visit. I don't know. You could say that.
Oh,
Or
maybe
that she
that was
was
it.
there for a little bit, like
I would
visited.
say that for Leia to have memories of her, she would have passed when
Yeah.
Leia was like 5 or 6. Like enough time had passed where like she remembers her face, she remembers her being happy and also sad and beautiful and blah blah blah. Because I could definitely see
Yeah.
like a fight. Like if I pass tomorrow, I don't know if our kid like holy well maybe it depends on how many memories you make, but I could maybe see him like talking to you in 19 years, being like, I kind of remember him, and you're like, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that would be the end of that, unless you had another one to add.
No, I don't think I have anything. I don't know.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't have the questions beforehand,
that's
so
fine.
I'm not prepared.
I wanted it to be fuck it, we'll do it live, or sorry, we'll do it live.
Some sometimes that works, but sometimes I just need to be having time to think.
This is the first one. Okay, next time it'll be better.
Okay.
Next time it won't be better. Anyway, so I don't know if this is how we're gonna close it out, but the next section is just favorite stuff. So there's no very hard thinking to do, just favorites.
I'm
So
saying, do you just want to like try to spitball first thing that pops in your head, sort of thing?
yeah. So
Okay.
favorite character from Revenge of the Sith.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Like, he just is.
it's like between him and Padme, they're like the. That's a hard thing to say. I was gonna say between him and Padme, they're like the emotional uh leg of the movie, and obviously Anakin has his own emotional thing that he's going through, but they're like the reactionary part of Anakin's nonsense, and they're the real. I mean, Anakin's a victim of himself and Palpatine, but they're the victims of the fallout of Anakin's actions. And I guess Ewan's performance in that movie is just a grand slam. I mean, he was great in 1 and 2, but man, he had to not only be like very emotive and different from how he did it in 1 and 2, but he also had to like bridge it to Alec Guinness, and I think that comes through pretty well. Like he's still witty in Revenge of the Sith, but he's not like you're right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short. Like he's much more wizened. There's these looks that he has that
Yeah.
I'm sure were like orchestrated, and even if they weren't, like there's these looks that Ewan has that are just so Alec Guinness throughout Revenge of the Sith. They're very good.
Well, and it definitely, it's like shows like, yeah, they were going through unprecedented times. They're going through, the Clone Wars, and it's showing the wear that he's been through, and
Yeah, yeah, he's not that
the
young
toll it's
Jedi.
taking. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then yeah, he does such a great job. I was like, not to say it's Obi-Wan's character, but like, not like he really, Ewan just makes me like the prequels. Like that was one of the first, like one of the. I mean, he's cute too. Sorry, gotta say
true.
it. Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like, yeah, like he just, his acting, the character is what really is like, okay, I'm interested. Okay, these movies are good. Like,
So
coming from a person who wasn't like super into prequels, I guess.
right. So perfect segue. We'll just skip the rest of the list to jump to this favorite actor for Revenge of the Sith. Ewan McGregor,
Yes.
Christopher Lee. Homie was only in
Oh,
it for 4
okay.
minutes. No,
Yeah.
It's Ewan McGregor, right?
No, it is. It is Ewan.
followed
Yeah.
followed quickly by Hayden Christensen, followed quickly by Natalie Portman, because
Yeah,
Natalie
honestly, they all did good. Yeah.
Natalie kind of got carried in Revenge of the Sith, wherein like Padme's not in it a lot, which is crappy, but when she is in it, it's super important. Um, and I think all three of them really nailed it. But yeah, Ewan McGregor, like all of the things that you said, like he makes the prequels. If you weren't enjoying them in the first place, he makes them enjoyable. Through 1 and 2, he's kind of fun and bantery, and then 3,
Yeah.
like he carries the emotional weight of all that's going on. How can you not feel it when he says, "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you," or whatever?
And so say you're gonna say favorite part, and it's like that's what really sold me. I was like,
Perfect segue.
man, I'm crying over Star Wars right now. Like, he loved him, and you can feel it.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it sucks. It's like the one scene, or one of the rare scenes in Star Wars that just sucks, but in a good way. Not that it's
Yeah.
like it's bad, just the man, just like it sucks to to see those characters go through that.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part of Revenge of the Sith, I don't know if that's my favorite part.
That is kind of like weird for me to say that's my favorite part, but
No, not at all. I suppose my favorite part of Revenge of the Sith is just the whole bit where they're in that conference room talking about the fate of the twins, because it's the first time in the movie, like actually in the runtime of the movie, that you get a chance to breathe for a second post the beginning of the film, because everything's so freight train off the rails. Bits of the Clone Wars happening, the fight with Grievous.
yeah, it goes
Jedi
like,
going
go,
to
go,
arrest Sidious, Order 66, them finding each other on Mustafar, the fight on Mustafar, Vader being born, Padme dying, and then they're in that conference room and it's kind of relaxed for a second. So it's that levity for a second. It's also they're literally framing how we get to set our players for episode 4, you know. Bail takes Leia to Alderaan and Obi-Wan takes Luke to Tatooine. And then also there's the little added promise of a TV show in another 12 or something years when Yoda says, oh, I've got some training for you on Tatooine. Fun fact, Qui-Gon. And Obi-Wan's like, get the fuck out of here. Sorry, get the out of here. I don't know if that's a solid answer, but in the moment, that's what comes to mind, is that like that levity and that it's almost fun to see how the pieces land on the chessboard just from that bit, because that's one of the most like decisive moments in the series, right? Like they could have reversed it. Leia goes with Obi-Wan to Tatooine for whatever reason, and Luke goes to become Prince Luke on Alderaan. Or both of them go to Alderaan and hush hush, you're related, but don't tell anybody. You know, anything could have happened, but we obviously had to stepping stone to the one that we already have.
Yeah.
So while I was deliberating, you already kind of said, and you've said your whole bit. So what's your favorite line from Revenge of the Sith?
But I'm just telling you, it's the end, like the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight, like that. All of that is just my bread and butter, and that is maybe weird, but it's just him being like, "You're my brother, Anakin. I loved you." Ugh. It's impactful.
It is. It's not one line, but maybe this is my favorite part. The whole Plagueis bit. The whole speech. The whole Plagueis speech is so interesting from many facets. I mean, one, it is such a seductive move by Sidious to tell him that, knowing, I mean, obviously he knows that these dreams are happening because they're probably coming from Sidious, right?
Yeah.
Also, it is a bit of Star Wars lore telling. Like, is he telling the truth? Is this a lie? I mean, it's like a multi-layered thing. Like, we all know it's manipulation, but like, did this happen? Like, the way that he says, ironic, he could save others from death, but not himself. Like, maybe that's my favorite line.
The
Just
way he says that
such
too,
with such venom, but such self-satisfaction as well.
Yeah, he's like so smug about it. It's
like,
okay.
If you were wondering if it actually happened through the entire speech, that I think cements like that happened.
Yeah, you're like,
he killed Darth Plagueis.
Well, and it's another thing that kind of goes over Anakin's head, and it's like, boy, pay attention.
Right, because he's so lost in the he can do what now, and is completely missing the this guy is
missing all the red flags, all the weird cues.
This guy is confessing to murder, and not just any murder. He murdered a Sith Lord.
Yeah,
who was also his master.
Between the lines,
right? Which is also a perfect segue to the next video, which will be Darth Plagueis. That's going to be a long edit.
To your last favorite thing, I feel like we did not talk about enough. Like, I feel like there's not enough character love. We've been focusing on like the main 3.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's true.
I want to shed some love.
Let's just gush on other characters. Oh well, yeah, of course.
I love him. Also, Bail Organa. He's another guy.
True.
That like you get him in the Clone Wars and you're like, yeah, this guy. I'm like,
yeah. Well, and that adds to this is a thing that you'll appreciate. I don't know if anyone else read these books, but the Clone Wars but what the hell? Oh, Wild Space. Clone Wars Wild Space is that book that we listened to, where Bail Organa gets word of some old Sith planet, tells Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then the two of them go on a good cop, bad cop, basically jaunt through the galaxy trying to find this thing. And then when they get there, it is the most excruciating thing that they'll go through until Revenge of the Sith, and they have to learn to depend on each other, and they kind of hate each other a little bit. So not good cop, bad cop, but like buddy cop film.
Yeah.
It's
See,
very
I
good.
don't remember that much, but yeah, that's another like good relationship building thing that you get from this extra media
Yeah.
if you choose to consume it. Because then it's like kind of not like, especially if you watch the Kenobi show too.
Yeah,
And
like
of
he
course,
saves
Revenge of the
his
Sith.
daughter.
Just seeing them, it's like, oh, okay, these two do get along. Like,
Right.
there's some
Well,
history there. You know?
without the context of the show and that book that I mentioned in the Clone Wars show, like the line, General Kenobi, years ago you served my father during the Clone Wars, and now he begs you to help us against our struggle against the Empire. Where I probably butchered that, but like that means nothing without any of that other stuff.
That's true. If you've only seen the originals, you're like, oh,
Like
okay.
they attempted a little bit because obviously they have Bail Organa save Obi-Wan like mid space or whatever, like he picks him up, but like that's not serving your father during the Clone Wars. Like that's not how that works. So I mean, not just the prequels, but all of the movies, like the sequels, the originals, the prequels, are all, that's what the expanded universe is for, right? It's just enriching what's already tasty. It's just like it's the powdered sugar on top of the donut, right?
I just feel bad. Like, I mean, I guess some people are just casual Star Wars
And
fans,
that's
but
fine.
you really are just missing a lot of good stuff.
That's what this channel's all about, is showcasing the stuff that
I say as I have not read too many books.
Hey,
but like,
you read
I've
Shadows of
knowing
the
stuff.
Empire.
I get my info from
Well,
you.
and
yeah, I did read one
and
book. Okay.
you technically read Kenobi, and you read technically Wild Space. Definitely, if you liked the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, definitely listen or read to Star Wars Kenobi by John Jackson Miller. And if you didn't like Kenobi the series, read or listen to Kenobi by John Jackson Miller, because it's very good. It's one of my favorite books, period. Like, it is very well written.
Yeah.
It is a very good story. They don't overutilize Obi-Wan as a Jedi. He's just like a dude for most of the book.
Well, and I feel like I listened to that around the time we were probably watching. I mean, we were always watching Star Wars, but that's probably more the reason I was like, yes, Obi-Wan. Like,
Obi-Wan gets a lot of extracurricular character building because of Alec Guinness, really, right? Like, he was such an important character in the originals that they're like, okay, we really need to tell this guy's story.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, probably me listening to that really made me more excited about the prequels, and I know Obi-Wan lore, and I like it.
True.
I like the guy.
Obi-Wan's a
He's
great
a cool
character.
guy.
Palpatine, while we're gushing about characters.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, he's just the rattiest of bastards, but man, Ian McDiarmid has a lot of fun being Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith, and it shows. Like, even like when he's being a bastard, you almost can't help but smile at how like evil and how fun he's having. How much fun he's having.
That's in the theater. Most of the time, me shaking my head was when he was being all like, "No,
like, no, Sidious."
Yeah. I was like, dude, stop.
I was like, in the context of here's a headcanon thing, going back one topic. People like to say that Mace Windu beat Sidious fair and square, which if you watch the movie, he didn't. And I think that's kind of the tragedy, is that no matter how many Jedi they brought in there, that battle was going to end the same. Because I mean, he's on the ground. Mace Windu's got his lightsaber at his neck, and then he shoots him with the lightning. Oh, I'm so weak. And then when Anakin cuts his hand off, he literally says unlimited power. Like, I was screwing with you. You had no chance. Headcanon and also character gush. It's frightening how powerful that they hint at Sidious being without showing it, which informs, I think, the rest of the series, because by the time you get to Return of the Jedi, I think even without extracurriculars, the books, the audiobooks, the whatevers, I think it's very clear that Palpatine is cautious of Luke, and that should say something, because Palpatine was not cautious of Anakin Skywalker. So in the moment of Palpatine's about to have his big giant victory, unlimited power, he shoots Windu out the window, that informs us that he is ridiculously powerful. But you get to Return of the Jedi, and I think it's clear that he's a little apprehensive, because you have the moment where Vader comes to him and he's like, hey, my kid's on that shuttle, and he's like, is he? Because I didn't feel him. And Vader goes, yeah, I did. That's a whole bit from the books. That's extra fun that we can touch on at some other time. And even like Empire Strikes Back, like, he could destroy us, the son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. Like, he's very clearly worried about this kid, and he was
Definitely
not worried about Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, more insecure.
Yeah. Going back to favorite actor as well, Ian McDiarmid does not get, he probably gets enough credit now, but man, Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor is one of the greatest villain performances of all time.
Well, we haven't talked about Yoda yet. We were talking about all these other characters. We gave Bale some love.
Right.
So, like, Yoda.
I do have a
pretty
quick,
important.
I don't know if you have a thing about Yoda. I do have a quick thing about Yoda that goes back to like things noticed for the first time or whatever. I think it's really not funny. Jeez. I think it's interesting that at the beginning of the film, Anakin goes to Yoda and is like, "Oh, hey, I'm having these dreams. I don't want them to come to pass." And Yoda says, "Mourn not for those who transform into the Force. Mourn them, do not miss them, do not. The path." What does he say? I should know this or whatever, but he basically says like attachment is greed and it's a path to the dark side, which is interesting that Yoda says that to Anakin, because the rest of the movie is like a Yoda's punishment for his leadership of the Jedi and not being able to see or stop Sidious. So now him saying that to Anakin, now he has to eat his words and his wisdom and not mourn the Jedi, according to him, and not miss them. Now they have transformed into the Force, right? It is like the ultimate irony for him to have kind of damned the Jedi and also give advice that would say don't miss the Jedi as well.
Well, and if you want to get all psychological about it, it's like whether Anakin knows it or not, he's self-fulfilling prophecy. Whether he remembers that earworm that Yoda's putting in there, it's been like, yeah, well, you having attachments is leading you to the dark side, which, like, I guess it technically does, but like, yeah, like Anakin literally, he does it. He does what you said.
Yeah, if it's just another failing of Yoda or misguidance of Yoda. And there's a Jedi in the Old Republic era called Jolee Bindo, and the character in the game KOTOR talks to Jolee about attachment and love, and Jolee says love does not, I'm not going to be able to do this verbatim, but Jolee says love does not intrinsically lead to the dark side. Now, over attachment can lead to the dark side, and not, gambling and not wanting to give up the things that you have can lead to the dark side, but love often
literally how he is with Padme.
Yeah, love often saves you from the dark side. And Jolee saying that Return of the Jedi, love saves Darth Vader. Like love killed Anakin Skywalker, but love saved Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Which is extremely beautiful. Revenge of the Sith does poetic. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith does Yoda dirty, but puts him in the state to give Luke the best tutorship of
yes
of, man, I really screwed the pooch. Here's how to not screw the pooch, which makes here's a great glad. So we initially had been done and said, all right, let's be done, and then Leah said, oh, what about Yoda? And I said, god damn it, I had a thing about Yoda. Which it ties back into the sequels. I am an Anakin Skywalker self-fulfilling prophecy right now. Revenge of the Sith does go right into the sequels when he tells Luke, we are what they grow beyond. They were just some stupid old books, basically saying like, yes, we've made mistakes and mistakes will be made, but you cannot live on dogma. That doesn't work, which is Yoda reflecting on, I was living on dogma that did not work. That does not work. It's Yoda's full circle moment of character growth and closure.
Yeah.
The sequels are good.
True.
Anyway, so one more category. You said you maybe found one. Favorite prequel meme from the Revenge of the Sith prequel memes?
I don't know too many off the top of my head. I see them all the time, but the one I picked is it says when the game says you need a higher level for the mission, and it's Anakin saying you underestimate my power, which is
Oh
like
no.
literally me when I'm playing a video game. I'm like,
You really
I can do
just
this.
raw dog things and it happens to work.
Yeah. Well, sometimes. And then it says when the game was right, and it's Anakin laying it on Mustafar, and he's like, I hate you. So it's yeah, that's me. But sometimes it does work out. I do. Sometimes it works out.
Mass
Sometimes it
Effect?
doesn't. Mass Effect, yeah,
Mass Effect, you
I go
big
for
dick
it.
it and just...
I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then if I die, I'm like, whatever, it's fine.
I don't know that I have a specific format, but I don't know if I have a specific one that I've seen that's like my favorite, but I like the what have I done meme. Actually no, I do, and if I can find the video, I will put it in. There's like it's probably a TikTok, honestly, but I've seen it on like Instagram Reels or whatever. It's it's the captions like, when you accidentally build a 2014 Jeep something or another, and they perfectly crop out Anakin going, what have I done? And he drops a wrench instead of the lightsaber.
What have I done?
Oh my gosh.
That makes me laugh every time. I'll have to find that.
I have a couple more if you want to.
No, please.
There's also one, it's where they're Obi-Wan and Anakin, the Mustafar battle. I'll have to send you these so you can like put them up.
Yeah, send them over Discord.
But there is a Monty Python one. It's like, tis but a scratch. And then it just goes through the whole thing. Just the back and forth between him and Obi-Wan. And then, yeah, he's like, okay, I'm done. We'll put it up there. You can see it. I'm not going to recite the whole thing. But I was like, that's pretty funny. And this other one. See, okay, awkward. All of mine are on Mustafar, of course. It's Anakin facing us. And he's like, I want my own spin-off. Obi-Wan's like, your own spin-off? Anakin, the entire saga is your spin-off.
Oh. I'm not going to spend too much time on that thought, but people that say I want a Darth Vader TV show, like, have you seen Star Wars, like, at all? Any of it, really? It's about the cat. Like, even the stuff that doesn't have him in it, it's about him. Right?
Oh, comes from, yeah.
Some way or another, like, even the acolyte, like, it's a stepping stone to him. Like, it's basically like the hors d'oeuvre before the meal. Like, here's your Yord Fander that's about to get broken necked. You know who's also about to get some broken necks? The Jedi that Anakin kills. Like, stop asking for a Darth Vader TV show. It's probably gonna happen, but stop asking for it. Unless you have any closing statements or closing thoughts that were left unsaid.
I don't know. I mean, I could just keep yapping on.
Which is kind of the whole point, but we're an hour and 16 in. Well, I mean, an hour and like something. I don't know how long it's going to be after editing out whatever.
I don't want it to get too long because we're going to do this again, I'm sure. So.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Revenge of the Sith is 20. That's... I can believe
happy
it,
birthday.
Obviously, because of the passage of time. But yeah, happy birthday. Overall...
You're old.
Yeah, you're not even old enough to drink.
You're getting old.
So not yet. And another, like, Star Wars is going to be 50 in 2 years, so that's wild. Yeah. Overall, Revenge of the Sith, beautiful film. The prequels are kind of back on the upside the last couple of years, which is good to see because I spent a lot of years as a prequel fan hearing nothing but bad things about the prequels and having to go to bat for them. So now I don't have to go to bat for the prequels anymore. I have to go to bat for the sequels, but that's also why we're here. So, but today's all about Revenge of the Sith. So, happy birthday, Revenge of the Sith. Anything else you have to add? Anything pertinent you have to add?
I don't think so.
All right, me neither. I think I've said all the things. I'm sure there's things I'll think of like, oh, I should have said that, but that's okay. We'll touch on that another time or whatever. So that's gonna do it for this. I thought this was gonna be 30 minutes. Maybe in the edit it'll be 30 minutes. But next video will be the Darth Plagueis book review. I don't know how long that's gonna be either. Hopefully not an hour. But and then after that, I'm really gonna have to start getting creative with things. So Happy birthday, Revenge of the Sith. Thanks for joining me from the other room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
She will be on probably a lot because I have no friends. So, and I can't imagine I can drag Trienti into too many of these. So I'll have to use him sparingly. So, I never said, very, very quick closing remarks. I never said what the show would be called. I think it's, obviously you'll see the video title and the thumbnail and whatnot, but I think I like Caf N Canon or Caf N Chat. What do you think?
Caf and Chat.
I think Caf N Chat's good. So Caf N Chat, episode 1, the 20th Sith,
Woo!
the 20th Sith, the 20th line of Bane Sith.
We're losing it.
We're losing it. We're getting sleepy. Anyway, so next time, Darth Plagueis. So until next time, drink Caf, consume Star Wars, and
May the Force be with you.
bye-bye.